Listen, so we've seen the predicted odds kind of shift in Biden's favor. We've seen people say even when the market has up days that politics are partly why. How does coronavirus affect that at all, you think, as people go out today?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the Democratic primary, it likely benefits Biden, right? I mean, sometimes I think the conventional wisdom has been that this, all of this Washington experience is sort of a liability. But in this case, I think Washington experience, a steady hand, being the vice president, overseeing sort of the response to the financial crisis, all benefits Biden. So if anything, I think this is probably a tailwind to Biden. But healthcare has been, as you know, has been sort of priority number one for Democrats in general. So this is sort of a good context for them in order to just hammer home that point.
So do we start shifting our attention then, basically saying Biden's got it locked up, barring any real surprises today? We start to look ahead to the general and to think about how this development, the economy in general, how that all plays. And that's partly why I'm surprised the president hasn't announced a bigger fiscal stimulus package sooner, because if that takes a while to play out, we're getting kind of late in the calendar. Yeah, so sort of first things first, right? So, Washington and Michigan, if Biden were to win those tonight, then yes, I mean, he's the clear front runner. There's another super Tuesday next Tuesday with 15% of delegates, and Florida's the big prize there. If he takes it home, if he wins like polls are predicting him to do in Florida, then yes, I think it's fair to say that he will be the presumptive nominee. And then you will start seeing that pivot to the general election. And, if you look at those incumbent presidents who've not gotten reelected, it is George H.W. Bush and it's Jimmy Carter. And what do they have in common? Well, they were overseeing a slowing economy. So does this absolutely matter? And will this weigh on, folks' minds? Of course. I think you could make an argument that our politics have become more tribal, so maybe the economy matters less. But this health crisis is going to, could impact people pretty directly, and therefore could inform how people vote.
What's interesting to me, I heard an observer mention the other day that that no Democrat who did not begin the campaign as an outsider has won the White House in recent history. Not Carter. Right. Carter was an outsider.
Yep.
Clinton was an outsider. Obama was an outsider. Joe Biden is anything but an outsider.
Yeah, that's right. Although, you know, maybe his comeback, he was.
Well, he was on the outside looking in
to zero back
until
to hero.
last week.
I don't know, and maybe that was what sort of people, had to sort of, subject him to that type of test. That's absolutely right.
It's an interesting observation. I don't know what it means.
But also, I think just given this context, if this, it's only March, right? So we could be talking about something completely different, in September, October, and November, right before the general. But if this continues, then again, I think that's going to put people are going to put a premium on stability.
The last two Democratic presidents were left-handed too, so who knows?
Well,
I play this game forever.
I do think there's something into what you're saying, though, because if we think about Bernie and Hillary in 2016, it's fun to run the counterfactual, but you think about whether people would have been more passionate, more motivated to turn out for Bernie, whether that would have been a closer contest with Trump. If you fast forward to 2020, and as you mentioned, if Biden's kind of the presumptive nominee, but there still lacks some of that passion, you wonder if that's the strongest person who would have gone up against Trump.
Yeah,
maybe. Although what you're seeing in the primaries is a lot of enthusiasm, right? And so I think this idea that only Bernie or somebody who's maybe an outsider could get the turnout is not necessarily, at least what we've seen so far, and what we saw last week in Super Tuesday doesn't sort of adhere to that narrative.
Let me get your quick thought on whatever stimulus package comes out of the White House. You are skeptical that a payroll tax will have the votes to get through a Democratic-controlled House of Representatives and Congress in general.
Yeah, and I think Speaker Pelosi and some of the Democratic leadership really threw cold water over this idea last night and this morning. And, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell doesn't love this idea either. So I think this is going to have, have a lot of obstacles in terms of getting the votes in Congress. What we should expect, though, what the market should expect is a much more kind of targeted stimulus package. So this idea of paid leave, maybe some tax credits for, impacted industries, increase in unemployment insurance, but really those who are impacted by the coronavirus.
Right.
Think about the payroll tax; it only benefits those who are actually on the payroll, right? So it's not necessarily helpful in a time of an.
What about just cutting checks, $1,000 checks to everybody like Hong Kong?
Yeah, and I think a lot of economists, Keynesian economists, are advocating for that. I think that the votes are not going to necessarily be there in Congress either.
I dare someone to vote against a $1,000 check.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, and things can change quickly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this narrative can change quickly, and I think that's a big caveat here: is that if we have a durable slowdown, then all this conventional wisdom gets thrown out of. thrown out the window.
All right, Libby, thank you. So another Super Tuesday next. That's three in a row.
Everything's
super
I know,
on
super
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I know.